Hello everyone, it's Lindsay and I am so excited to be here for the first time on Scrapbook.com's YouTube channel, sharing with you a Bible art journaling process video. So I will be playing with some Distress Oxide inks from the newest collection, and I also have some pieces from the Maggie Holmes Flourish Collection. And these are the pieces that are the exclusives that were created for Scrapbook.com. So I have the cardstock stickers here and the die cut pieces. Here's a look at all the pieces that come in that exclusive collection. They are so gorgeous. I love playing with them in my Bible. They're so girly. And later on in the video, I'll be using some of the papers from the exclusive collection also. Because I'm going to be playing with Distress Oxide inks in my Bible, I'm going to prep my Bible page. Distress Oxide inks do bleed through the thin Bible pages, and so to kind of deal with that, I'm using some Art Basics clear gesso to prepare the page. So I went ahead and added my Ranger craft mat behind the page just to protect the rest of my Bible, and then I'm just going to go in with a paintbrush and apply a very thin layer of this clear gesso to the page. I do go ahead and dry this layer and add a second layer just to be sure that the page is completely covered in this clear gesso. And this creates kind of a barrier that protects the paper, and so everything kind of just sits on top of the page and doesn't bleed through to the back side of the page. So I'm drying this first layer with my Ranger heat tool and being careful not to pull the page, or it will tear your page when it's wet. So I'm going to be doing some ink smushing with Distress Oxide inks, and I have a piece of just plastic trash. It probably was from those die cut pieces or stickers or something, and I'm just going to smush a little bit of Mermaid Lagoon out onto the trash and then spray it with my Distress sprayer. I did go ahead and take it off camera so I didn't completely spray my desk, but I got it pretty wet, and then I can go ahead and flip it over and smush it down onto the page. There is a little bit of control with this because it's clear packaging, but for the most part it's just kind of going with it and going for that splattered messy look, and I just want to create some color and texture in the background. Now, before I move on to my next color, I am going to dry this Mermaid Lagoon color, and when it's about halfway dry, I do use a paper towel to pick up any puddles of color, and that just adds even more interest to the background and speeds up the drying process, so I'm not trying to dry those giant puddles of color. And then now that that first layer is dry, I can now go in with Evergreen Bough, and same thing, wet that with some water, and then layer that onto the page. I love doing this with Distress Oxide inks because they have that mixture of dye and pigment inks. They just have so much more dimension to the color, and they just have this kind of velvety look when they're dry. They're just really pretty to play with. So I'm going to do the same thing here where I dry it part way and then pick up any giant puddles with a paper towel. And you can see how that looks there. I did go ahead and choose some colors that match the Maggie Holmes collection. Now I'm going to add some splatters, so I'm just taking a big fluffy wet paintbrush and picking up some of that tattered rose ink and splattering it onto the page. This color, if it mixed with that green, it would create kind of a brown, which I don't want, so that's why I'm not ink smushing with it. I'm just kind of flicking some of the color onto the page, and I just want a little splash of the pink to pull in some of the pinks that are in the pieces that I will be using. So I did use that plastic just as a palette to smush it out onto, and can add it to my page there. So now we can start layering these beautiful pieces. Here is one of the pattern papers I'm going to be using, and here's the other pattern papers that come in that exclusive collection. You do get 2 sheets of each paper. They're 12 by 12, and they are so pretty. It was so hard to decide which one to use, but I did go with the yellow just because a little more neutral, and I'm going to be using this to accent the page kind of like you would with washi tape, but I didn't have any washi tapes that really matched this collection, so I thought I'd go ahead and use some of the papers. So I'm just tearing a thin strip of this paper off of the sheet and just kind of creating some interest down here at the bottom that will anchor my pieces down. I am using the Ranger Distress tool to distress up the edges, and then I can go ahead and adhere that down in the corner. And I'm using some roller adhesive. This is a dot adhesive from Scrapbook.com. I like the dot adhesive better than just the regular adhesive because I can rub it off anywhere where it gets messy or extra or is sticking out. And then I can go ahead and just trim off any of the paper that's sticking out over the edge of the page. And you can see now this deer kind of has something to stand on. It won't just be floating on my page. And I'm just going to play around with doing some layering here. So I have that vellum piece, and then I have this giant floral sticker from the cardstock stickers. And since that vellum piece is vellum, adhesive will show through. So I'm going to adhere it down with that sticker, and that is enough to keep it down. And so I'm just kind of trying to figure out how I want these layered. I do like to let my pieces kind of hang off the edge of the page and then snip off any of the parts that are hanging off, just so that I don't know, it just makes the layout look a little bit better, I think. The piece that I did cut off, I'm going to save, and I'll show you how I use that towards the end there. And now I can go ahead and adhere down my deer with that roller adhesive, and this will also help kind of tack down that vellum fern piece. And the deer is covering up a little bit of text. For the most part, the text is still visible on this page. This is not my study Bible. I have about 8 other Bibles that I can read out of. And so if text gets covered up, it's not the end of the world for me. This is my 4th journaling Bible. And so it took me 4 Bibles to get comfortable covering text. If that's not for you, you can just scoot things over a little bit or use smaller pieces, not a problem. Here I went ahead off screen and die cut some letters using these Tim Holtz Sizzix Thinlits Alpha dies, and cut out the word God and soul, and this is going to be part of my title. And so since these are teeny tiny, I'm going to put them through my Xyron sticker maker, and this adheres a layer of adhesive onto the back of these pieces, and so they kind of make little stickers, and so I can use them like alpha stickers to create my title. So you just go ahead and put, I know I'm a little bit off screen, but you go ahead and just put them in the top of that, pull them out the bottom. You do want to make sure that you burnish and rub these really well, and that's what picks up any of the extra adhesive, so it'll only be on the back of these little paper pieces. And so you just want to make sure you rub all around the edges of that paper, and then you can pull off this clear plastic and pick up any extra adhesive that might be exposed, and now they are little stickers and ready to go. So I'm going to also be using the stickers from the cardstock sticker sheet to create my title. And so I am working in Psalm chapter 42 verses 1 and 2, and those verses say, "As a deer pants for flowing streams, so pants my soul for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God?" And this is one of my favorite verses. I've journaled it in all of my journaling Bibles, and so my title here is going to say, "My soul thirsts for God." I will still have some room that I could do some journaling or some prayer writing kind of underneath that fern if I wanted to, or just above the deer, or even in the kind of margin gutter part of this page. But I just wanted kind of just a statement title up here to pull out the part of the verse that is my favorite. So you see, I went ahead and stuck all those stickers down, and then I'm using my EK Success powder tool to brush over this so that if there's any adhesive still exposed on those letters, this will remove the stickiness, and so my Bible pages won't stick together. Now, the word soul and God was kind of getting a little lost on this page, so I went ahead and pulled out the Letterit gold metallic marker to outline all of these letters just to help them stand out, and that marker actually perfectly matched with the colors that were already on this page. So I just really quickly go around just the word soul and God, and it just ties it all together. Finishing it up, I have this tag that came in the die cut collection, and I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers tab punch to just punch a tab out. So don't be afraid to cut up these pieces and use them in different ways. And then I have another little scrap of that paper, and I'm going to use it kind of like I would washi tape again and just layer it underneath this tab. Layering is not something that comes easily to me. I just kind of play around with things and test things out and stack them together and just kind of see what they look like before I commit to gluing things down. So don't be afraid to play around and experiment and explore with different paper pieces. I did go ahead and distress that with the tool as well, and then now I can go ahead and adhere it down with that roller adhesive, and same thing with the tab, just add a little bit of adhesive down at the bottom so that it sticks up over the top. Here's where I saved that little piece that I cut off from the sticker earlier, and I'm going to use it at the top of the page just to kind of frame everything and, I don't know, just add a little bit more green towards the top. And I can snip off any of the extra exposed, and so don't waste all those little tidbits. You might be able to add them in somewhere later on. Finish this off with that word love from the cardstock stickers, and I'm also going to take a pen from Scrapbook.com. This is intended for writing on slick surfaces, which is great when you're writing on gesso because it is a little bit slick, and I can underline my verse so I'll remember when I come back to this what verse I was journaling. And that is it for the entry today. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Check the description box below the video for links to all of the products used in the video. Head on over to Scrapbook.com and check out some of the awesome goodies they have over there. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.